All right. So welcome everybody. We're very happy to have you with us today. We are going to talk about AI Copilot for legal teams. So as you probably know, if you're here, we recently launched our Copilot in Concord. It's our AI assistant that is always helpful, always ready, always on to help you with your contract review and drafting tasks. And the theme today is turning contract chaos into confidence. So before we get into that, I'd like to make sure you know who's on the webinar with us today. So let's go ahead and I'll introduce myself, and then I'll let Quincy and Blake introduce themselves. So my name is Cheskino. Think of the games Chess and Keno. I lead product marketing here at Concord. In a past life, I was a lawyer. I'm still a licensed attorney, but I left the practice of law, went back to school for an MBA, and moved over to the business side of the table. And I've been working in marketing in the legal tech world for a while now. So I've worked both in the contract lifecycle management space and elsewhere, including e-discovery, litigation support. But I was a transactional lawyer. So the contract management software specifically is near and dear to my heart because we're solving all the problems that I had to tackle manually, all the manual drafting and review and contract management tasks. So I'm passionate about this area, and I'm excited to share with you today some of the really cool things we've developed. But before we jump into them, let's go ahead and hear from Quincy and Blake. So Quincy, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure thing. Quincy Berg. Hi, everyone. I'm an account executive with Concord. I have been selling contract management systems for about 8 years now, and I'm based out of Cape Cod, Massachusetts. So looking forward to running the demonstration today.
Very nice. And Blake.
Great. Nice to meet you all. My name is Blake. I probably interact with some of you guys regularly, but I'm a customer success manager here with Concord. My job is sort of to support you as you use it. So if you guys ever have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us at support@concord.app. You can even reach out to me personally. I'm sure my email will be in the chat at some point. So it's nice to talk with you guys. We're looking forward to talking about the Copilot.
Very nice. So go ahead and take a look at our agenda for today. So we'll start with a brief overview. You know, if you're in the legal field today, what are the challenges you're facing in 2025? Why did we develop Copilot, and how does it help? Then Quincy will handle a live demo for us. You'll get to see right on this webinar what it's like to actually interact with the Copilot and use it for various legal tasks. And we'll open up the floor for Q&A after that. So you don't need to hold your questions. If you have any questions as I'm talking or as Quincy is showing the demo, please just drop them in the chat. We also have the Q&A field. So just share your questions with us. We will take note of them, and we will get to them after we conclude the demo portion. So just as many as you have, share them with us. And then we'll give you a sneak preview of what's coming up next after we get through the Q&A. So with that said, I will go ahead and move to the next slide. All right, so if you're here, you are presumably a lawyer, or if you're not a lawyer, maybe you work in legal ops, perhaps you're a paralegal. But the things on this slide should look pretty familiar for you. So you're stuck doing a lot of tasks manually, reviewing every contract line by line, word by word. And you know, you have to look at the realities of how organizations are staffed today. So there's a lot of manual effort. Budgets are not going up for headcount. So you have these review bottlenecks piling up. And excuse me, the people reviewing your budget still expect you to do more with less, or at least with the same headcount resources you have. So you have a question. When people are looking for ways to get around the legal review process, they're sending out old templates. They're sending out unapproved clauses that customers ask for, or they're not bringing third-party paper to you when they bring on a new vendor. You know, how do you get around that? How do you enforce compliance? How do you make sure that people are working with legal because you want to serve them as a legal partner instead of just being a rubber stamper? But how do you make sure that you're doing that? You need a way to scale up your legal ops, and that is why we brought Copilot for Legal. So the main thing we're going to show you today is how you can use it for review, but it's actually quite versatile. You can have it review language, look at what's missing, look at how things can be improved. We'll take a little bit of a look at that as well. But basically, AI Copilot helps you cut review time in half. So when you need to find a clause, you don't need to scroll through the entire document, trying to remember what clause number you're looking for. You don't need to keep hitting Control and F and trying to find the exact phrasing. How is this clause labeled? Did they call it a force of majeure clause? Did they call it an act of God clause? You can just look for what you're looking for based on context and find it much more quickly, and then get plain language summaries and explanations and suggestions on how to improve it, how to tackle risk. And it's easy to use. So basically, if you can use ChatGPT, if you can use Slack, you're just typing in a question, same way you would ask ChatGPT or pinging a colleague. Anybody can use it. So with that said, I think we'll go ahead. Oops, sorry. I think we'll go ahead and jump into the demo portion. I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Oops.
Sounds great. I just sent a request to share my screen.
Yeah. Where's my stop share button? Excuse me. There we go. It went over there.
We're good to go now.
All right. Thank you, Quincy. Let's go ahead and jump into it.
Sure thing. So everyone, like Cheskino showed in that screenshot, the Copilot lives in what we call the document view. So as you click into a document in Concord, there is a sidebar panel here on the right, and the Copilot can be accessed through this button at the top. Now with my contracts, there's a couple standard prompts that I like to run them through initially to just get on top of some of the key terms so I can inform other stakeholders or other departments, as well as spot any ambiguity in the contracts. So I'm going to copy and paste in a prompt here. And this is important to note. So with this prompt, I'm looking for, payment amount terms, renewal terms, so on and so forth. What you'll learn as you start using AI solutions more is certainly the quality of the question leads to the quality of the response. And what I mean by that is I always want to know when the AI is providing me an answer, where is it pulling that information from in the contract? So I make sure to include this section in my prompts. So in this case, we're looking for a few terms here. So we'll go ahead and run the query. And then in just a few seconds, it's going to spit out a few bullet points here. So now I have my initial information. Terms, $290,000. Term length, this is a 5-year term. Depending on which organization you work with, I work with organizations where anything above a 1-year term automatically triggers an additional approval process, which you can certainly set up approvals like that inside of the Concord system. Limitation and liability in this case is capped to 12 months. That could be a potential point of contention, within the negotiation. So that's the first section, just to get on top of some of the key terms. And then in terms of spotting ambiguity, I like using this prompt here. What terms are unclear? And show me where these terms are located in the contract. And so there's some information about scope, a couple different sections here. And so immediately I can look at what is my priority in these, in these ambiguous terms. Do I want to suggest alternative language? I could, prompt the AI to suggest alternative language to any of these sections within the contract. But now I'm on top of ambiguity, my key terms, and now I can either start sharing this with stakeholders internally, or get in front of the negotiation of the contract, reach out to the recipient, do whatever I need to start that negotiation to get the terms more favorable. Blake, you had an interesting kind of real life example that your wife had went through, I think, about intellectual property.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, we were so yeah, she's an artist, and she had a contract actually with a company to create some content for them, and she's kind of wondering like what are the basically like who owns, the intellectual property that she was creating. So she actually used Concord, put it in the Copilot, used Concord to find out because it's a long contract. So she used it sort of to find that needle in the haystack of the contract. And so she used it to, yeah, to find the intellectual property clauses, and found out actually that she doesn't really, that she actually does own the content that she created. So it was a fun real life example that actually benefited our family and kind of helped us out. Um, and yeah, and sometimes I know also that like some of you may have Copilot on your accounts, and also some of you are considering adding Copilot to your accounts. And sometimes there's like many options that it can be overwhelming and inundating. So if you're ever, wanting some like, hey, some example prompts or like some of the examples that Casey used here, feel free to reach out to us and say, hey, walk me through some basic examples. We'd be happy to give you some prompts because sometimes just getting an initial start is all that's needed.
And then other sections as well. I mean, depending on who your company's customers are or your company's vendors are, there's other prompts that might make sense to look at. Things like, is non-appropriations listed in the agreement? In the case I'm working with a governmental organization. So obviously the sky's the limit in terms of what you're searching for, in terms of, the terms and conditions, that matter to your organization.
We have a question here, Casey. It's is the Copilot available for everyone? Um, and now there's specific follow-up. I think for you, I'll reach out to you to tell you if it's available on your account. But could you talk about, I guess, who Copilot is available for?
Sure thing. And hi, Camelia, and we'll make sure it gets enabled on your account. So I'll do that right after the webinar. But the Copilot is available for any of our customers that are on our AI plans. These are the plans that you can see, kind of the general pricing listed up on our website. If you're not on one of the AI plans, maybe you've been a customer with Concord for a few years now, please feel free to reach out to myself or Blake specifically, and we can talk through adding that on to your account. Just, there's a couple other things we were looking at specific, trying to make this webinar a little bit more pointed to the attendees here. Things around data protection and tariffs. With the tariff side of things, can you explain kind of from, an ex-lawyer's perspective, what you might be searching through a contract for to see if tariffs are impacting, the contract?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, one thing it's kind of funny. In the past few years, the force majeure clause, I mentioned this earlier, but the force majeure clause has kind of had a lot of time in the spotlight. A few years ago, it was uh, do our force majeure clauses include pandemics? That was something that a lot of people suddenly needed to search for, and given the state of current events, a little not too long ago, it was, do force majeure clauses include tariffs? Because some will specify, say, governmental actions, but they might specify tariffs. They might not explicitly specify tariffs. Given the way that the news cycle has been moving, maybe we've moved on from tariffs to war. It's a little hard to tell. But yeah, so if I were managing contracts for right now, one thing I'd be looking up is, what the heck do my force majeure clauses say about all this stuff that's going on, in the macro economic and political world around us right now. How does this impact my business deals, my supply chains, that sort of thing?
So in this case, once again, it's a standard prompt. With this contract specifically, there's no language around tariffs or even, governmental activities within the force majeure section, but great prompt specifically given the current economic environment and the back and forth tariffs that we're all going through nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's great how like I mentioned, it's a pain when you're going through contracts page by page, line by line, just trying to remember where the heck was this clause located. So even just the time savings from having it point you just directly in the contract where you're looking for is fantastic. But then you get that plain language summary. So it's really like having a very helpful, very knowledgeable junior associate pointing you exactly where you need to go so you can just get straight to the actual substantive review.
Absolutely. There's a couple of questions in the chat here. One's from Zilan How about the compliance of Copilot with European regulations? Concord, so I had mentioned earlier in the chat, Concord uses Google Gemini to generate these AI search results. We've signed what's called a zero data retention policy with Google. What that means is none of the data that is extracted from your contracts leaves your Concord account. It's not used to train any external models. It's all defined under the zero data retention. And then it's fully GDPR compliant as well. Zalon, happy to send over more, security related details if that's helpful after the webinar. There's another question here from Dave. Can you search across all contracts or a subset? Currently, Dave, you can just perform the search on the contracts themselves. As far as where Concord is heading as a product, our next capability, which we're starting to test with customers next month, is what we call a system-wide copilot. This is where you're going to be able to run search results against all of your contracts in the system. I don't have that enabled on this account, Dave. I'm just pulling over a separate screen here. There's not much to show other than you're going to have that full search capability inside of Concord. So once again, we're in development on this feature. It's extremely exciting. We've been asked about this functionality at this point for many months. So this is what we're working to, is allowing you to query your entire database of contracts in natural language to find the information that you're looking for.
Yeah, we have customers that are super, super excited about that. It's the next logical step, right? So stay tuned for that. Keep coming to these webinars and there, before you know it, we'll have it live and ready for you.
Chuskin, unless you can think about anything else specifically that would be relevant to demonstrate, or if anyone certainly has any example prompts or sort of use cases they wanted to work through, feel free to punch those into the chat.
Yeah, let's see. We did have a general question about data privacy, but that's always something that's relevant to look up within a contract as well. I'm not sure if this procurement contract would necessarily contain it, but yeah, we could look up and see, does it have any clauses covering data privacy?
Certainly. Yeah, let me just pull up the contract here. Just run a prompt here. And then from here, this is going to spit out a fairly, legal specific response. If I wanted to try and make this language more easy to digest, then if for other stakeholders, for example, summarize the response above in plain English. So once again, the quality of the question leads to the quality of the response. If I had planned to share, a data privacy, summary with other stakeholders about this contract, then I could include that, plain English response as a part of my initial question.
Yeah, and one thing I'll point out there is what's really cool about this. It remembers the context of the conversation, so you don't have to give it an entire prompt from scratch every time you ask it. It remembered what you were just asking it about the moment ago. So when you said summarize that, it remembered what it told you and it just went into a plain language summary of it. So that's pretty cool as well. We do have some more questions coming in the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and let you two field those.
Sure. So I see one here where they're asking, I think, about memory, right? So, and if I'm not at least getting your question right, let me know. But where does the Copilot responses get captured for the record so that we know that what we asked it? So I might take this one. So currently in Quincy, you maybe add color here, but we don't currently record the answers yet. That's another kind of like, as Quincy was saying, strategically where we want to go with the AI. As it stands right now, it's a tool that you use as you step into the contract, but as you leave, those questions won't be recorded. But you do have what you can see down at the bottom of those buttons. You see a thumbs up, you see a thumbs down. There's also a copy button as well. So if you'd like to, what I've seen customers do is copy that text right there, what he's pressing, and record it in the comments or things like that. So currently where it stands, if you want to record it, it's a manual process, but we are looking to bring memory mode into the Copilot.
And another question we had, sorry I missed this one, Yujong. How do you use the translation feature? You simply just ask. So because we're using Google Gemini, there are dozens upon dozens of languages that Gemini supports. So I've worked with customers where I have a contract, it's in Korean, and I want to digest, maybe the entire contract or a couple sections of the contract and translate it into English. All you do is you ask, translate into French. Just to keep the response short, I just asked it to translate the first two sentences here. So yeah, you, John, it's just as simple as asking.
Yeah, very nice. And one cool thing about that is, again, you don't have to memorize a bunch of different ways to ask questions or go to a bunch of different places within the platform. It's all right there, top of the side panel. Just ask a plain language question, ask it to translate, ask it to find something. You can do it all in one place.
Next, do we know which model we're using, Casey? I think it's Gemini 2.0, but we can always get that answer for you unless you know confidently off the top of your head.
It's 2.0 as far as what I've seen.
And we're using the best, and we're always using the best models, the things that work best with our system. So as the AI improves, we want to be using the best models as well. Now this next question.
And one more note with that, Dave. This is Gemini 2.0, but it's trained against contracts and legalese specifically. So if you compare this with just like a standard, go into a standard Gemini account, you're going to see different results against the contracts. It's been trained, further than the standard model.
Next question for you. Sort of another future question, I think, is what the answer is going to be. But Quincy, is there a cheat sheet of recommended or suggested prompts that Concord can provide?
There's not, Chris, but it all depends on your industry, the vendors or customers that you work with. For example, I'm working with a biotech company right now. They have 100-page plus clinical trial agreements where with them we're developing prompts to extract things like milestones and payments. It's certainly something that we could sit down together to develop a cheat sheet for you specifically, but every business has its own nuances. So besides for the couple standard prompts that I showed earlier, hey, let's show me where, the payment terms, the term length, limitation of liability. Besides that and the unclear terms prompt, we don't have a cheat sheet developed. We just do that on a case-by-case basis with customers.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, just basically reach out to us. We'll be happy to help. Next, does Concord insert red lines in a document based on prompts? So currently, no. That's another thing we're planning on doing strategically. So we do want the Copilot to be able to say, hey, can you format this differently? Can you take this and rewrite it and restructure it, making with different negotiation points and things like that. So as it currently stands, the Copilot is just a tool and a resource for you to use in the summary panel. But absolutely, we hear you. We know that that's a need and a desire, and so we want to develop that for you. And I think that answers all of the questions so far in the chat. If I miss anything, re-raise it. But I think Chiskino, I think so that answers all the questions that we have.
Fantastic. Yeah, I believe we've gotten all the questions. I'll go ahead and share my slides again and just make sure people know how to follow up. So as you've probably seen in the chat, we have shared both Blake's and Quincy's email addresses. So you are absolutely free to reach out to them directly. So as we've mentioned, if you are interested in Copilot, it is available to every Concord customer who has AI enabled on their account. So if you are a customer right now, if you have AI enabled, you can just go use it. If you do not have AI enabled, please just go ahead and get in touch with Blake or Quincy. They'll be happy to get you set up. And if you are not a customer, you can go ahead and either email Quincy, or you can scan this QR code that I have helpfully placed right here on the slide, book a demo, and get some time to see Copilot in action and get a sense of what you can do with it. And yeah, so I will leave that up for just a few more seconds. Make sure you have time to scan it. But we did say we would give you a sneak preview. We've already basically talked about it. But do we have anything else we want to add about Copilot in platform view? No. So yeah, so basically everything that Blake and Quincy were saying, being able to search across your documents, do cross-document risk analysis. So
Yeah.
not just looking at what are risky clauses in this contract, but for example, how many force majeure clauses across my entire contract portfolio say something about tariffs? Um,
And and
how many data privacy, let's say that that California comes out with yet another statute replacing their existing data privacy statutes, and you need to replace language. So you look, how many of my existing contracts say something about the CCPA or CPRA, right? So you'll be able to actually search across your entire portfolio and start getting some of those answers, the same types of answers that you're seeing right now within one document at a time. And
yeah.
then some of those, yeah, interactive questions people were asking about. Uh, Creating red lines and inserting them directly in the document. Those are all in the plan. So not every feature will be available at once, but yeah, there's some really cool things in development, and we're very excited to share those with you.
Yeah, I do have one quick thing I think, Cheskina, real quick, is that if you're looking at custom reporting, if I know a lot of current customers are like, hey, I want some additional reporting functionality, that's going to be what you're running right there is the cross-platform Copilot.
Yeah, very nice. Well, great. Well, I think, yeah, we are right on the half hour. So very much appreciate everybody who joined us. It's an early morning for us in Austin, Texas. So whether you're here joining from Europe or from the US or elsewhere in North America, I know we have somebody from Canada. Thank you very much for joining us today. Please do not hesitate to get in touch with Blake or Quincy with any questions you want if you want a demo, if you want to see how you can use Copilot for your team. Very happy to have you here, and don't be a stranger.
I know.
Thanks, everyone.